Seth Rogen is getting dragged online right now for some resurfaced comments that he made praising his child-free lifestyle and bragging about all of the weed he gets to smoke and all the movies that he gets to watch with his wife. He is 50, right? And his wife is 42.
He's like 40-something. I thought he was way older.
Oh, really?
He's actually 20 and she's 42.
He's not aging particularly well, but Andrew Tate posted this screenshot from the interview saying, soulless, movies and weed, great. Oh, wow, naked with a girl? OMG, but not to make kids, right? These people are dead inside. So here's what Seth Rogen said in the quote. We're effing psyched all the time. We're laying in bed on Saturday mornings, smoking weed, watching movies naked. If we had kids, we could not be effing doing this. And that was his way to brag about how great it is to not start a family. So I looked into where this came from. It was because he was on the Diary of a CEO podcast last year. It wasn't even that long ago. These are recent comments he made. He says that not having kids with his wife, Lauren Miller, helps him succeed in his career. So that doesn't go for just women, right? It goes for men as well, according to him. He said, not having kids helped me succeed as well, definitely. There's a whole huge thing I'm not doing, which is raising children. Some people want kids, some people don't want kids. Honestly, you're just told, you go through life, you get married, you have kids. That's what happens. And me and my wife, neither of us were ever like that. Honestly, the older we get, the more happy and reaffirmed we are with our choice to not have kids. We're in the prime of our lives. We're smarter than we've ever been. We understand ourselves more than we ever have. And we have the capacity to achieve a level of work and a level of communication and care for one another and a lifestyle we can live with one another that we've never been able to live before. Me and my wife seem to get a lot more active enjoyment out of not having kids than anyone I know seems to get out of having kids.
Jeez.
So he was very verbose and very articulate in explaining that he is an essentially selfish person, as is his wife, and they have shaped their lifestyle around their selfishness. That's essentially what that means. And he was throwing shade at people he knows who do have kids, right? Because he's implying that their relationships are worse off, that they don't have time to do anything they enjoy, that they're not working as hard, and he has it better off than them.
I wonder how many times they've had to sacrifice the babies in her womb.
I wondered about that as well.
Deranged marriage.
Yeah.
That, is fake happy. That makes me sad. I know people, how old did you say Seth was? He's 40 something?
40. I thought it said he was 41.
So he's like a little older than me. But I know people my age who have been married and kind of on a similar trajectory of no kids. And they're starting to be like, we should have had kids. We should have done, because now you're too old. Especially like if you're a woman, there is a thing when you get old, carrying a pregnancy is way tougher.
The scary part for this is, like, he says in the interview that she was just as gung-ho about this as he was, that she didn't want to have kids either. Well, if he changes his mind, he can do whatever he wants. He can divorce her and go find a young woman and have kids all he wants. She doesn't have that option.
The stakes for her are so much higher. And also they're in one of these relationships where they took 7 years to get engaged. And
because they were high too much.
Yeah, right. They were so high they
kept
couldn't
meaning to propose,
on.
but he couldn't figure
but then
out
it got high.
The wing. Where's the ring? He's like, I have no idea where
Then
it
he
is.
got all neurotic because it got to him. It was the wrong strain that day. Yeah. And then in another interview with Howard Stern back in 2021, he also made extensive comments about his child-free lifestyle. And he emphasized that his wife doesn't want kids more than he doesn't want kids. He said about Lauren Miller, she doesn't want kids. She wants kids less than I do. And he said they have too much fun to factor babies into their family. I don't know anyone who gets as much happiness out of their kids as we get out of our non-kids.
Wow.
And that's when he said we're effing psyched all the time. We like smoking weed and watching movies. Blah,
I don't know
blah,
if anyone has as much fun as we get out of our abortions.
Right. It's like, I can't imagine that hasn't happened.
I guarantee it hasn't. I mean, who knows? But I just think this is the product of a world that we live in where they promote being an adult baby.
There's a human cost to everything.
Oh, yeah.
So $20 super chat here from Bender the Offender says, so they're dinks. I don't find that surprising.
There are other dinks in Hollywood, but they don't talk about it as much as Seth Rogen does
Chelsea
because
Handler.
he's clearly overcompensating for something.
Same with Chelsea Handler, who goes overboard
Yeah.
to promote the idea to other people. There's a lot of content online from people promoting the idea of like, look, I was pressured into having kids my whole life, and there is an argument to be made that if you pressure them too much, there is a strong possibility that somebody could go the other way. Like I point out all the time, when people tell me to do stuff on here, it makes me less likely to want to do it. Okay, so if people are pressuring you constantly, not everyone is going to sit there and think about the good of the family bloodline or the chance to leave the world better than the way you found it. Not everybody thinks in such esoteric terms, right?
Yeah, but that is the base quality of humanity.
Yeah.
Is to just procreate.
Like, so they're saying the cope is strong with him. I don't know if he's even thinking it through in that terminology. Maybe it will be. Maybe later on it becomes cope.
Dude, for sure. I was thinking like while I'm looking at the quote, it's so much that I wonder if he really means this or this is him actually coping, and maybe he does want kids.
Yeah.
And he's too old. He's past the point now. Well, I mean,
No, he's not.
He's
She
not.
is.
She is. Yeah, I wonder if that's the case.
Well, he's just going on and on when it's like,
Yes.
bro, we didn't
No,
even
we got
ask
it.
for you to defend your
We got it.
decision.
The interviewer might have brought this up to him, but also we talk a lot about the narcissism of Hollywood. Maybe it's not cope. Maybe they just are that narcissistic. I don't know. You're going to have people like me who are going to be like, I don't care. Like, let the dude do whatever he wants. All that means is he's not.
I mean,
passing his genes on.
we are probably better off not having tiny Seth Rogans running
sure.
around this world, but
For sure.
it's sad. It's sad that some people are so selfish. And I think that their hatefulness for people who do decide to have children really comes out even when they're trying to sound like they're nice about it.
Yeah.
Like there's this subreddit called Childfree where all of these dinks or sinks, they talk about how great their lives are not having kids, but most of the time the conversation veers off into hating kids, hating parents for having kids and taking them out in public and ruining their dink experience going to restaurants and coffee shops all the time. So I just took a quick look at what's going on that subreddit, and I see, don't bring your babies to coffee shops, people. There is literally zero reason. Babies don't drink coffee. If you want one for yourself and have no place to put them, just get one and leave. A local coffee shop I frequent is mostly college kids. And today a couple girls brought in a baby that was screaming for like 10 minutes. Everyone's just trying to do their work. I wanted to gouge my eyes out. Of course, the parents just ignored it and let it cry.
Yeah.
Wish there were more child-free spaces where I live.
Yeah,
They're
look,
always talking like this. This was posted 2 hours ago.
I have 2 young children. Sure, my life is more difficult. I have limited time. I don't always sleep well. Way more responsibilities. But the joy that I get from those children far exceeds any of the negativity, like the not sleeping or having to sacrifice time to, oh my goodness, if I could spend 12 hours a day just writing, that'd be great. But that's not my life. I chose to have kids because I think that's really important. And those joys are huge. Like I was telling you guys before we went on air, me getting to like show my kid the things I love and then see him fall in love with things, whether it's music or movies, that's so much joy, and I have so much fun doing that. And like I was saying, friends who don't have kids, they truly don't understand when I say like, I can't do it. Because to them, it's just like, how do you not do it? They have nothing but infinite time, it seems like, other than their cats or their dogs. But I really don't care. I don't miss going out.
Mm-hmm.
I never really was much of a partier, and I'm happy to have that structure and see the kids and hopefully raise kids who are better than me. But I have seen it on the faces of people I know that they truly don't get it and are disgusted by kids. And they will die probably lonely.
I think that like I could sit here in armchair about it, but I feel like it's people who didn't feel like they were appreciated as children and their parents did not express joy in them, and they feel that hate coming up, but it's really a self-hate.
Yeah.
And that's really sad, but it doesn't excuse you dehumanizing children and hating parents the way that they so often do.
That's a next level projection that you just brought up of like you
It's real.
deep down hate yourself so much that you don't even want to replicate yourself.
Because your parents are supposed to be the first people that prove to you that you're lovable. And
Yeah.
if they didn't, you're going to see your child self in other children if you're an
Yes.
adult now, and you're going to hate them.
Yep. Oh yeah, I've seen
Because
like,
maybe they're getting loved the way that you like wish you could have
For
been.
sure. I've seen
maybe I'm
people-
just psychoanalyzing it to death.
No,
but
I never thought I'd
that's always
psychoanalyze
been my
Seth Rogen,
theory.
but that is hilarious. Yeah, and I've seen people who've come from families like that,
Yeah.
with generational stuff that keeps getting passed down, and like they don't have kids or they don't have stable marriages and stuff like that, and it's like a pattern of that throughout the family. And it's
a
tough.
curse.
It is a curse, and you can work on it. I don't think you can be trapped in that curse. You can obviously we have to recognize that you're trapped in that and then get out. But yeah, I think he's definitely a narcissist.
We
And
got a
it's sad.
$20 from Bucky Ducky. I can't imagine not having kids. The universe conspired since the beginning of time to put me here. Every generation before me suffered so I could be here. Yet I'm going to say it ends with me. So selfish.
Yep, totally agree. It's so cliche, but the second I met my son, our first, your heart unfolds in ways you can't even explain. And I also it's like you accept death in a whole new way. It's just like I'm now like him. He's gonna take from me, and I can go away, and hopefully I've done a good enough job.
I'll give you a white pill to counteract this from Hollywood. There was a funny interview that came out with Javier Bardem, who says basically the last two movies he's done, the two big budget movies he did for his kids, he says, I made Dune for my son, I made The Little Mermaid for my girl, I got paid for both.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
I like that.
And I think that's a good thing. And I do want to point out that as much as people talk about Hollywood divorce and things, if you go look at your average network television actor, a lot of them have been married for a long time. They've got kids. Some of them, yeah, they've been married several times. But like there'll be actors that it's really funny. They'll be like old actors, right? And they've been married multiple times, but they've been married for like 20 or 30 years to like each of them.
Right.
Like, and so...
Yeah, it's not all.
It's
like
not
this.
all. They're not all like this, and I do
Okay.
think that a big part of it is that you're right about tone, right? So I give him more leeway because I'm like, look, as long as he's not coming up to me and shouting about it, I don't really care. But when you see the skits online
The
about
Chelsea Handler videos,
that type of stuff,
always.
that stuff always comes across to me as extremely in bad faith.
It's just
and very,
embarrassing.
very like narcissistic and rude. And I dislike
Well,
that.
that video of Chelsea Handler on her birthday skiing in a bikini with her dogs on her, everyone was saying this is so cringe.
Yeah.
But then there were others being like, oh, well, if this were a man doing this on his birthday, then you would think it was funny and charming.
No.
And I'm like,
No, actually, I wouldn't.
no, if I saw Seth Rogen shirtless skiing with his dogs strapped onto his backpack, I would still find it cringe.
Just as gross.
So you guys
And pathetic.
basically see it as like doth protest too much
Yeah.
for something.
Basically, yeah. Also, did you see that video that recently went viral where this chick had her baby and she was in some bar?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
this,
saw something about
there
it.
was this lady that came up to her and was just screaming at her, screaming expletives like, get your effing kid out of here.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't, like, you don't belong here. Your kid doesn't belong here.
Right.
Like, she was just being incredibly rude. And what emboldens someone to act that way in person, drunk or not,
Right.
unless they see this message affirmed to them in the media
Mm-hmm.
constantly that, you know, it's acceptable to hate parents and it's acceptable to hate children.
Yeah, it is. I remember showing up to the airport once when our son was, our daughter wasn't born yet. It was just our son. He was just a baby. And people look at you like a leper. Like, how dare you bring
Oh
that
yeah,
baby
Megan Fox
on this
said
plane?
pregnancy is treated like leprosy in this industry. Yeah, like
Interesting.
I've
wasn't
watched
kidding.
plenty of TV shows where actresses are on mainstream shows and they hide them with files and cabinets and they let them work right up until the moment of
Right.
till they give birth.
I think it's
Right.
different for a movie star like Megan Fox though.
Yeah.
What she would be told.
Right.
Cobra Commander says, counterpoint, maybe not having kids is a vote of no confidence in our world and our society. It could be seen as an empathetic choice to not bring someone else into the world. As usual, there is never just one right answer.
I would say that's one wrong answer
I disagree
of
with
many
that
wrong
fully.
answers.
The
I
world
think,
is always, we're in a fallen world. The world's always been
Yeah.
bad. And, you know, my grandparents could have thought the same stuff, seeing World War II, seeing all the assassinations of the 60s and been like, you know, this world is depraved. I don't want to bring anyone in here. It's always bad. And you should always have hope. Kids are literally the hope. And you can actually make better future, or at least a future that can maintain itself, you know.
that's
with
not
your
even a
children.
guarantee, but I just think like,
Yeah.
a human person's pain is more worthy than their non-existence.
Totally.
Just
Great way of putting
flat
it.
out true.
Yep,
Like
flat out. 100%.
I guess so you guys see this as doth protest too much. I see it as the culture of narcissism in Hollywood where they're not even thinking about it. I don't think that they think about it deeper than this. I don't think Seth Rogen looks beyond just his immediate wants. And his immediate
I have a hard time believing that he's that surface level. As dumb as he is, I think he has something else going on.
I think it's just so ingrained in the culture there that they don't think about it. Now it could come out later that it's different, and certainly if it's the woman it comes out later that wanted kids and was basically just going along to get along. That's tragic and that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But it's a choice she made, and it's a choice she fell victim to because of social programming.
The other thing I think is always funny with these types of people is they're also activists, and Chelsea and him are very politically active, and they want to pass lots of laws, and they're childless. So like it's very selfish, the way they see politics. It's about them.
Well, yeah, I guess Seth Rogen does have really bad TDS.
He's terrible.
And just derangement.
Just all around derangement, which is terrible. I think he was a really good writer, and he was a great comedic writer. There were some things I really enjoyed with him.
Didn't he threaten to go to Gina Carano's house?
I don't know. I don't know.
Didn't that happen?
I wouldn't even.
Am I making that up? I'm going to have to look that up.
I loved Freaks and Geeks, right? He was in Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah, that was good.
I loved that show. Not that he wrote it, but it's great.
So you don't think it's possible that some people just don't want to have kids?
Oh, I think it is possible.
Of course it's possible, yeah.
For sure. I do think that's possible, and I know them. There's a few in my family, and I wish they thought differently, but it's totally possible. This just seems different.
Okay.
Because the way he keeps going in on it.
I would say the majority of people out in modern society right now who would report that they do not want kids and they do not plan on having any have not done a thorough examination or really any self-examination as to why that is. And if they did, they would probably find they have some internal issues to work out, like from their own upbringing, or maybe they are narcissistic. Maybe they have selfish desires that they're not willing to make sacrifices to their own convenience. There are a lot of factors at play, and they're not encouraged to ask themselves those hard questions.
I think a lot of societies also made it sound like it has to be the right time to have kids. And I thought that too.
When is the right time?
There is no. When we had our son, we had $200 between us in our bank account, and we're squatting in an apartment in Brooklyn, and mostly living out of a car. Obviously was not the right time to bring a child into the world, but it was great, and that child made me way better. Work harder, focus more, and he changed me thoroughly, and my wife. So, but that's me, and I'm not saying that's everyone, because there's a lot of people who really don't do well.
I just want to point out, look, to Cobra Commander's message, right? There's a growing movement of nihilism around that idea, right? That the world is just too broken, and that there is no reason to bring children into this world for that.
I hear it all the time.
For that purpose. That's a very common thing to hear nowadays. So
Reject
whether
nihilism.
you reject the idea or not, it's good to examine why has the culture grown so willing to embrace such nihilism.
Well, I think that's a product of Marxism. I don't want to bore everyone, but I think we have been infiltrated by a death cult that wants you to not survive or be happy. And then look at the direct consequence of this is something like MAID program in Canada, where you just sign up and they'll take your life, or 3D printed suicide pods. It's all kind of connected, because like you said, nihilism, meaninglessness, no purpose. And it's really sad as cash flies at me. I love it.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media, and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.